Mix Master Mike, what you gotta say? Goddamn DJ made my day. But took a it's Chinese New Year. I'm feeling good. Year of the Tiger, rare. It's it's Chinese New Year. I wasn't really going to celebrate, but it kind of just happened. Obviously, my girlfriend's Chinese. Her family's Chinese. They brought us a beautiful Italian lunch. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. So Chinese New Year is about, it's actually a beautiful holiday. And we kind of got down to the fact that it's probably one of my favorite holidays, having lived there for a couple of years. It's basically just about chilling out, being with your family, drinking, chain smoking cigarettes, being lazy, and eating. Like it's like if Thanksgiving was a week, which it kind of is. Not really. We stretch it out for a couple of days where we're just like boozing and partying and shit and watching football. But Chinese New Year is awesome. Like the whole country gets off. Most people, especially foreigners, you get off of work for like a week plus. It all depends how it falls. I don't know how it works. It's one of those ones where it like this year it's super early. Last year I feel like it was much later. There was one year where it was like February 18th. But either way, you get off like a week plus. Most foreigners take a trip somewhere. You know, it's kind of wintry, so you take a trip to like Southeast Asia. You go to like Thailand or something. Just get the hell out of the cold for a little. But if you don't, it's great. You just hang out. The city empties out. I don't know about you, but I was always one of those people that liked when the city emptied out. Like everyone else, like in the US, when it's like Memorial Day or what the hell's the other one? I don't know. There's the other one, the beginning of the summer and the end of the summer. I don't remember. Those two, what are they? I don't know. Labor Day and Memorial Day. Either way, more Memorial Day. People where I'm from in Philly all go down to the Jersey Shore. They go to the Jersey Shore. You're going down the shore. We're going to the shore. We're going down there taking the kids on Sunday. We're going Thursday because we want to beat the traffic. Everybody goes down the Jersey Shore. So if you live in the city, I mean, talking like downtown, you live somewhere in there, everyone's gone or people go home to visit family because there's a lot of, you know, transplant people in any major city. They go back to the suburbs to barbecue with their family and shit. So it's dead empty. It's peaceful as hell. It's like a zombie apocalypse. It's always very nice. I wouldn't say do it every year, but it's very pleasant. It's just a weird perspective you get on the city. You get up mornings and there's really no one around. You get this quiet. I believe there's a book. I got to look that up now. Shit. There's a book that I'm thinking about empty cities. There's a book about like empty Tokyo photo book. There's some guy who took shit. I'm never going to find it. Is this Tokyo Nobody? I don't even know where I saw this. This guy somehow, this shit's amazing. This guy somehow captures, which I kind of understand it. Tokyo Nobody. Oh, this shit's awesome. You know what? I might have to buy this. I've never really considered buying a photo book. That's not true. There's one New York one that I think my girlfriend got for her dad. That was badass. And there's another New York book that we got that's all drawn. It's some artist. I feel like she was a comic strip artist, maybe, but she drew everything in the book is all hand drawn sketches of New York. And then it's like history of New York, different neighborhoods, different things about just the history. Like I didn't realize like LaGuardia, I didn't even know he was a mayor. I just knew it was one of the airports. And, you know, you hear those names and you never really look into it. You're just like, I don't know, he did something. But apparently when LaGuardia was mayor, that's when the mob was they were using pinball machines as like an illegal operation because it was all cash. It was all quarters or whatever the hell they took back in the day. It was like the 20s, I guess, maybe the 30s, but I think the 20s. And it was like probably, you know, nickels and dimes, whatever. It was change. So the pinball machines were a good way that they could just avoid taxes and they would just, siphon off the money. So LaGuardia took he said it was like illegal gambling. He took a bunch of these and he just dumped them in the Hudson. So apparently at the bottom of the Hudson, there's just like thousands of pinball machines. So that's another book, which is awesome. But this Tokyo Nobody, I remember reading about this. This guy somehow got images of Tokyo. None of this is photoshopped, which you have to, that's the mind-blowing part. And if you've ever been to Tokyo, there's fucking people everywhere. But also, that's the thing that it doesn't blow my mind, because there's this strange thing about Tokyo is that you can go from the densest areas of population, just madness of crowds. You go like a block or two off. It's dead quiet, dead silent. You don't see a single person. You'd have to go in like a little restaurant or cafe into a little environment, but it's so quiet and peaceful. You can hear crickets at night. 2 blocks over, some of the maddest nightlife you'll ever see. And it's such a cool contrast, which like everything in life is good when it has contrast. Like I'm reading the book. I'll never get this name right. Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. Oh, I got it. I'm reading that cookbook, Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. And a lot of it comes down to, especially with acid, which is what I'm on, it's about contrast and balance. It's not just like, you got to put these ingredients in there because that makes good food. It's about achieving something that's, really deeper than cooking. It's a balance. So the city achieves such this beautiful state of like, chaos and quiet. It's, that's what makes something good. Any good city has that, these quaint little, look at this shit. Oh, this looks like Osaka. I guess it's not, obviously it's Tokyo, but he achieved these, he's probably getting up at like the ass crack of dawn, but some of them he just finds times a day where people, maybe it's right after the lunch hour or something where the city can just quiet down. Damn, this book is cool as hell. Look at these streets. Oh, look at that. I've been here. I think this is Shinjuku. I remember seeing that thing. I swear that's Shinjuku. There's so much crazy shit on the streets there. Either way, what the hell was I talking about? God damn it. I always do this. I get Beastie Boys, little Beastie Boys. What was I talking about? I don't even know. Oh my God. Oh, Chinese New Year. Everyone travels. Oh God, I'm going to have to go back and look. That's terrible. Oh, dumbass. I was talking about cities being empty for holidays, which brought me to that book of just getting to see the place you live or any city in a different perspective. So Chinese New Year is a very sketchy one too, because like everything closes. I mean, like there's not like a single restaurant. All right, that's not true. There's very, very, very few restaurants open. Like the normal restaurants that would be open, like you just walk down a street and there's like, let's say there's 30 little random noodle shops and dumpling shops. They're all going to be closed because they're owned by, a family who went home to visit their province and visit their extended family. There'll be like some bigger, massive restaurants open that because they get good business because that's where people want to go to eat for the holiday. But there are certain parts of the holiday too where even those will be closed. So like if you don't stock up on it, like imagine a blizzard that lasts like a week where you can't get anything. You can't get, you can get at a convenience store. You better be prepared to live out of a convenience store and off of fast food. Like there'll be McDonald's open and that's like about it. Nothing. It's crazy. I got trapped one time, like a few days in between where I went on a trip with my girlfriend and then she was in India. And then before she got back, I was like on my own for a few days. It was miserable. Like it's cool during the day. I just, rode around on my scooter or just read books, listened to me, whatever, just sip some drinks. But at night you're like, oh my God, like where do I eat? Where do I go? I'm just in this apartment. And it's like, it's not only that you're in your apartment, it's that like half of the, like 2/3 of the population of the city that you're in is gone. It's so creepy. It's crazy. What an experience. But it is one of my favorite holidays. I like the gambling aspect. I don't know if they all do this, but like with my girl, we would play Texas Hold'em with I'm not like a huge poker, gambling person, but when I get into something, it's so good to get into that, really into anything, playing chess, just like there's parts of your brain that don't get exercised, right? And it's like gambling and making those types of decisions is so beneficial for your brain, like anything, you take it to excess, it could be bad, but if you're good at it as well, why not engage with it? But just the everyday person, how many times do you have to make and weigh decisions like that? It's such a good thing for your brain that I would love it. I just love it. And we would play with her family and, they all got a little bit of cheddar, a good amount of cheddar really. And whatever, we were playing for like $150 buy-in, but it's Chinese New Year. So a lot of people give red packets, which is like a red envelope filled with cash. You just hand them out, or on the app, you can just send like digital ones out to people. Send them out. Maybe it's got $1, maybe it's got $20, whatever. It's random. But with family, it's usually a pretty good amount. So it's not like you can just basically gamble with the money you get in the red packets. But we were playing this one year, I remember, and I thought it was like tournament style. Like nobody said otherwise. So like you buy in, and then when your chips are gone, you're out, and you play until the last man or woman, whatever, wins the pot. So I thought it was like that. So I was playing real aggressive, taking crazy risks. I was trying to like bait people into putting in extra chips and then pushing them out of the game. And then like her aunt just like buys back in, and I was like, what the fuck? Like I almost flipped the table. Like I almost flipped the goddamn table. I was losing my shit. They had me so drunk off of like Chinese liquor and shit. I was like, you got to tell people this shit. I didn't know, changes my whole strategy. I was an asshole, but it is upsetting. It's like it changes the whole game. It's like midway through playing Candyland, you're like, nah, the gumdrop forest. When you die there, you can just, I don't know the rules, but you can just change the rules midway. That was not cool to me, man. Wasn't cool. But I do love Chinese New Year. I've always had a great time. It's just fun. It's just, what the other thing is? It's not attached to my culture or me or anyone I know. So that's beautiful. Like it's like it stands off as this thing I get to enjoy separate from the rest of a lot of people. And it's special. And just, it was such a good time in my life and such a cool experience that I just love it so damn much. I don't know. It's cool. I hit up my buddies there. I think they're going to some island outside of Shanghai. Shanghai is so big that you could put both the population and the landmass, like both within square area and population, you could put like New York, LA, and Philly inside of it, and it still would barely take up most of it. Like, I'm not saying that impressively. I mean, it is impressive, but it's also kind of absurd. Like, it's just too big. It doesn't make sense. It's like at that point, it's really not even like a city. It's like a municipality of like its own province. It's just huge. It's so big. There's like these islands that are like, 2 hours away, and they're still part of Shanghai. It's like Shanghai's like just New Jersey. Like, it's just like, what the fuck is this crazy? It's like a state. So the travel restrictions are still crazy there. So he's traveling to this island. Apparently I never went. It's like a fishing island, chill ass place or whatever, but it's a cool, there is things to be said about a city that's so damn big that you can just travel for hours within it and you're still in there. But a lot of it's just the same. It's just apartment buildings and shit. Tokyo's like that too. Well, technically that's not Tokyo, but Western Tokyo, once you get into, what is that? Oh, it's the name of the character in One Punch Man. God damn it. I got to look everything up. Saitama is like a area next to Tokyo. Or is it technically considered part of Tokyo? Oh shit, I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it's considered. No, it's its own thing too. Either way, it's like that where like all of this is just like apartment buildings, row after row. Like there's neighborhoods, but there's not a lot. It's just people living. You know what I mean? It's like One Punch Man. There you go. That's his name too. Knew that shit came from something. If you haven't read One Punch Man, Get your shit together. It's badass. Look at this art. It's so good. You know why it's good? Because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't take itself seriously at all. It makes fun of itself a lot. It really makes fun of the entire idea of like these old Godzilla type superhero, Superman, all of it. Yet it's still badass. It achieves that perfect balance. More people should really read this shit. Which brings me to the next point. We went to the library today. We hadn't been in forever. I spent a year of my life living in the local, not like, sleeping, but more or less just living in the local library. When I came home from China, I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to like figure things out, manage a business where I really wasn't. I was like playing business. It's not pleasant to think about, but I was writing books and writing children's books and writing just like essays. And I was submitting a book I had written about living down the shore. I wrote a book about living in Wildwood, like with my buddies, Wildwood, New Jersey. You might have seen the show, The Jersey Shore. It's not like that at all. I don't know. I was probably reading like a lot of like Henry Miller novels and just American writers that were, all the crew that was living in like Paris and did that whole lifestyle. So I guess I was kind of influenced that like I want to do my own thing of like, for my generation, from where I'm from, it was like a rite of passage that after you graduate from high school, you move to Wildwood, New Jersey, or some shore town, but usually Wildwood was the craziest. You get a house with a bunch of your friends and you just live like animals for that summer before college, because then once college hits, everybody's going away. People are going to, Penn State. People are going here. People are moving around. So it might be the last time you really spend with some of your buddies that you grew up with. So either way, we got into antics, we lived down there. I should get into that. I got to do like specific episodes. I can even read some of the book, would be fun. But it's really a culturally diverse place because Wildwood, New Jersey is one of those places where they have these specific visas, short term, I think like 3-month or 4-month visas where people come over from, I guess a lot of countries, but a lot of it's like Eastern Europe, the former Soviet bloc type countries. And then it's a lot of Irish people. The economy probably hasn't been good in Ireland in some time, apparently. So they come over. Plus, it's just a cultural experience. And you find most countries around the world, especially English speaking ones that I'm aware of, people there get around a lot more, whether it's Ireland or Australia or South Africa, whatever. These people get out of their countries. Now, there might be different reasons for that, economic reasons, cultural reasons, but it's definitely way better for the individual. And I think it's better for the country, but that these people get out, see a bit of the world before they become entrenched in their beliefs politically or whatever beliefs just about life in the human condition. Before these people, you get so entrenched in like college and the stupid thought processes that go on there. Some of them take a gap year and they go fuck off to different countries and weird shit. And like, I met this Australian dude he's a bad example, but I met this Australian dude in the hostel at the end of my corner in Shanghai, this place called Rock and Stone. I think it was called Rock and Wood or Rock and Stream, whatever. There was a hostel at the end of my corner. So it brought in a lot of vagabond type characters. And I would just go drink at the bar there. And there's this Australian dude all jacked out of his mind. I start talking to him. He worked in the mines in like the middle of Australia. Like most of Australia is a damn desert, barren nothingness. Like it's like the southeast is all the big cities, Sydney and Melbourne and all that shit. And then all the way out on the west, there's Perth, I believe, if my geography is right. And then there's like nothing, just aboriginal fucking nothing, which apparently wasn't always the case. Like when human beings got there, like whatever, let's say 20,000 years ago or something, wherever human, maybe longer. They're saying there's signs of burning. So because they found fossils. There used to be like an ostrich type bird that was like over 20 feet tall. These mega birds that were like ostriches, and there's none of them left. And basically what they're saying is human beings came from like Indonesian islands and shit and came over to Australia, and they just used fire to clear the brush. It was useless because they're saying there's eucalyptus everywhere, and eucalyptus really shouldn't be. It wouldn't grow with the natural fossil vegetation and animals that they found there. But because humans burned it just to clear that shit out, it gave eucalyptus room to grow. And, they basically changed the landscape. Both, the animals. That's why everyone's always saying, like, you got to save the animals from these forests. Fuck them. They shouldn't be there anyway. They was altered. There would still be 20-foot birds there. The fucking koalas wouldn't have the run of the mill. So fuck them. They get what they do. No, but it's interesting that all these environments, the same thing with like the rainforest, where you're like, this is nature, man. They're showing that there's signs of like a lot of these things that are growing in the Amazon are planted by tribes over thousands of years because they're beneficial to their life. So really all these things have already been doctored by humanity. Wherever we have gone, we've changed the landscape. So either way, this guy, God, I go off on tangents. I'm just so interested in everything. I met this guy in this hostel. He's working in a coal mine in the middle of Australia. And these dudes apparently make like 80 plus an hour because it's dangerous, shitty, terrible, awful work. What they do, he was telling me, is they just do that and then grind it out for like a year or two and just stack paper, like straight hustlers. And then they just fuck off and go travel. Some of them, only use a portion of the money. Some of them, though, they just go broke again. They go back into the mines. Like, what a psycho life. Like, these fucking Australians are mental. Like, just you're living in a hole underground mining, and like any second you could die. Then you come out, and then you just like go bang ladyboys throughout Thailand for a fucking year doing drugs. And then back in the coal mines, it's like, it's insane. It's insane. There should be a documentary on this shit. But this dude was jacked out of his mind, and he was asking me where he could find a gym while he's slamming beers. He's like, where can I find a gym, mate? Like, I need to get a fucking workout in, eh? Like, fucking, I can feel myself. I need a pump, eh? I need a pump. And I'm like, I don't know. There's this one you could do. And he's like, I'm fucking shitting through a needle, eh? I'm fucking blasting out of my ass. He was just having horrible diarrhea, drinking at like lunch. I mean, I'm with him, so I'm no better. And then he's asking where to work out. I was like, why don't you just take a break? He's like, nah, mate, you got to fucking keep a pump up. Keep the pump. So he goes on to tell me that he's traveling around China with like 80 fucking kilos or some shit? Like at least 60. I know it was an insane number. It wasn't like 20. He was traveling around Asia with like 60 or 80 kilos of DJ gear on his back. So that's a kilo is 2.2 pounds. So I'm going to say it was 80. I'm telling you, this dude he worked in mines. He was jacked up his mind. So 2.2 times 80, you're talking at least like what, 180, 190 pounds. I'm telling you, it was like 80, 190 pounds of DJ gear on his back. And he said he was going to like small villages, and then he would just like DJ and like hold dance parties and shit, like in the middle of China. I was like, why don't you just not do that? Like, don't take a fucking iPhone, dude. Like they don't know the difference. Just play some music to get a couple of wired Bluetooth speakers. This dude was nuts. So either way, I'm just saying America needs more of that shit. I was saying we should do mandatory live abroad. But back to Wildwood, you meet a lot of characters there because these people get these temporary visas, and it's fantastic. And then why did I get on Wildwood? I was talking about Wildwood because, I was writing a book. I lived in the library. See, I'm getting there. I was living in a library. This was the book about Wildwood that I was trying. I met a lot of international characters living there. So I put this book together. I was trying to get it sold for like a year. And I was just in the library every day. And you find, just like anywhere else, a library will have the same people in there almost every day. There was always this dude with this blue Ford F-150. He was like a Marine. He was an old dude, that, like retired. He was always in there. And there was always these people coming in for English language classes because there's a lot of foreign folks that live in this area. But I love the library. I love it. And my girlfriend, as soon as I woke up today, said she was going to pick up a book at the library. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me. It's been so long with COVID. I just didn't go. There was no, real reason. I got books. It's like one of the most important things in my life. It's like, how people say about like exercise, how it makes you feel when you get in exercise or whatever your thing is, cooking if you haven't done it in a while, or playing music if you're a musician. There's some things that are just so important. Just going in the library. It was like, she even said when we left, she said it felt like a safe space. And she's like, I love the library. I immediately was like, I couldn't believe that I was so excited. Everything I saw, I wanted. I was like, what's that? Oh, look at that. What's that book about? Oh, look at that baseball. Oh, this book's about boxing. Oh, I was blown away. So I got myself a nice stack of, this is the only one they had that was on my list. Mr. Robert Sapolsky. It's, I mentioned him before, but I'm pumped because then you just find other stuff. And I started reading this one, Sex, Lies, and Headlocks, the real story of Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation. This book is so good. I didn't think, I thought whatever, like I read the inside flap. I read the flap. That's how I knew it was going to be at least interesting. But the beginning, oh my God, it opens up with Owen Hart and it immediately draws you in. It's like it paints this picture of this family man, this good guy. And then the tragic story. I didn't know like the whole backstory. I knew he fell. I knew, he fell from the rafters. Everybody knows that shit. But my brother was probably watching that live, like on pay-per-view. He's 10 years older than me. And, but reading it, holy shit, like he had kids, his wife, they just bought this house and like, what a good guy. And the whole reason that happened, not the whole reason, it was an accident, but he didn't want to do this sexually charged scene he was supposed to do that McMahon wanted him to do because he had a 7-year-old kid that he knew him and his classmates watched it and his daughter, and he didn't want them asking him like, why are you doing this thing with a woman? That's not mommy, like holy shit. So instead they came up with this whole thing where he comes down in his old school costume and he plays the good guy, the virtuous old school wrestler against the new like age of like sex and violence and wrestling and blah, blah, blah. So, it led to this tragedy, but then it goes into the history of this shit. And I'm not talking like the Hulk Hogan days. I'm talking like 1920s, 30s, during World War II, post World War II. It's so interesting and so good. Like what blew me away was like, one, the brutal lives these guys lived and just the interesting lives. But then there's like some pages and quotes and stuff from like wrestlers and guys where it's like the grind on the road. And it reminded me so much of one, just all of human endeavor. I wrote this little thing down real quick. I don't know where the hell it's at. Let me see. What the fuck? He who resists the melted cheese shall achieve enlightenment. Yeah, I wrote that because I always burn myself on pizza. And is it worth not burning yourself? No, it's too good. Eat it fucking until it scalds you. I wrote this whole thing about, damn it, I would have to take my phone off, which is what I'm recording with, to read it. But it's like when you read this, it's like the grind and the endeavor of the dream. And it's like, shit, that's what this country is. And what this country was is like the dreamer, the dream. And that's what we've gotten away from. We've forgotten the dream, but not only that, maybe we haven't forgotten. Like there's still people out there, doing things and doing interesting things and trying to live for their dream and their happiness. But we've gotten away from the focus on it. Like that used to be the focus that binded us together as a people, as a culture, as a nation, as a whatever, it's nationalism, whatever it is. Fuck nationalism. Just think about this subconscious understanding that it's like living life, living your dreams or living towards your dreams. And it was like the dream, the dreamer, and the dreaming was our focus. And that was what we paid attention to. Now it's like all this political shit and like the diversion and the differences between us and all this crap. And it was like, holy shit, the lives that these guys led. And it so much reminded me of comedy and really any endeavor, somebody working their way up through the ranks of a kitchen as a chef, or working their way up as an actor, trying to make it, or, it doesn't have to be a glorified thing. Just somebody, working, building their cafe as a business, just like that is what we should all be focused on. Cause it's what we're, as a people, it's kind of our, not only our legacy, it's kind of like what defines us, and we don't even know it. And hearing about these guys on the road and just the brutal, like the motels they're staying in. He said he's driving through like Western Canada and the Western US, and it's like minus 60, and like it's the roads are black and it's dangerous and you're beat up and you're only making $6 and you got to spend $4 and you got to eat shitty food, and just like the loneliness. And he said it would feel like you're on like just a different fucking planet, a different reality. And it just sounded like comedy to me, so much of just that grind, trying to make it. And it's not only the grind of just doing that, it's the hope, because they're saying while you're doing that, in the back of your head, you're thinking about those big wrestling shows that they put on in Chicago, and that one day that'll be you, you'll be there. That hope, which hope is dangerous in a lot of ways, but that dream that's there, that little spark, that flame that keeps you moving forward in this bleak, just tragedy, and it makes you maybe smile or gives you a little push, a little bit, one step more, one step further. It's just from fucking this wrestling. People think it's shit, but it's some of the damn truest of human stories in American history, really. I mean, everything. The guys who put together like the NWA were like these like shoddy scumlord businessmen and like ex-wrestlers. And it's like the immigrant story. A lot of these guys were immigrants. I started looking like this guy, Ed Strangler Lewis. I don't know his history, but he was like the man, like in the 20s. This dude was drinking with like Jack Dempsey and like the biggest time, probably like Babe Ruth and shit. And this dude was a friggin' legend. And then he was kind of a mentor to this guy. Oh shit, that's the wrong. Where is this? This guy, Thez. I don't know his Lou Thez. This guy was like this Hungarian immigrant. Look at this son of a bitch. Fucking handsome devil. This is what real men used to look like. This reminds me of what's his face? That's an act of lunacy. James Bond. God damn it, I feel sorry. I can't remember your name. Look at this son of a bitch. I love Stone Cold. But Lou Thez, man. So this guy was like the next generation after this is like the 40s, maybe into the 50s. He became kind of a businessman in it too, because he thought he realized he was going to get screwed out by this collusion of these other 6 guys who were basically doing illegal shit. It was like totally against the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. And like, it was like they were like doing shit the mob does basically. But he got back involved on the business end. But one thing he did is like he got 10% by colluding with these guys and bringing in his business segment of wrestling. And he took 3% and he gave it to this old timer. This dude, not him. He gave 3% to the Strangler, because by the time this dude was like in his 50s, he was like a drunk, broke. He was always getting staph infections from like wrestling on these dirty mats. And he had some disease where he was going blind, but he was a mentor to Thez or whatever this guy's name is. I don't know. I should call him Fez. So this guy made it so that this cartel or whatever had to give 3% to the old boy. And he said like, look, man, his connections, he paved the way for us. Like I'm taking care of him. It's like such a goddamn heartwarming, true story. Like these guys had it was like the mob in the sense that they had their own culture and their own, like they actually had their own language. They had like a carny language and shit because they didn't want people to see behind the curtain of their business and this like secret society. They even had this word I looked up, kayfabe, and kayfabe was like the word, kind of like the Sicilian word in The Godfather about like, what the hell is the Sicilian word about? For silence. Omerta, the omerta. There's the code of silence. So they had like kayfabe, just means like, that was like the shadow of like, yo, be quiet. There's people around, you know, we don't talk right now. So it's like wild, but this dude took care of his own, you know, he said like, look, anywhere we go, Ed Strangler Lewis has connections that help our ass out. Like this dude was like half blind and old, and he was still like regularly dining with Edgar Hoover and like presidents. This is so wild how what wrestling was and what it is now even. It's crazy. I didn't really get too far into it, but just the old timer shit and the struggles of these guys and the way some of these guys went out, man, they were like 43 and like dying, like literally dropping dead of like alcohol poisoning and just bad livers. Like oh man, gorgeous George. Gorgeous George. Is that his name? Gorgeous. You never use the word gorgeous. It don't sound real. Gorgeous. You got to say it like that. Oh, he's gorgeous. Gorgeous George. Let me read this shit. Where was it at? The first man to break out of this genre was George Raymond Wagner, the son of a house painter from Seward, Nebraska, who perfected the role of the imperious narcissist by dubbing himself Gorgeous George. Forever trailed by a perfume-pumping valet, the villainous George preened around the ring dressed in a lace and fur-trimmed robe, biting ears and gouging eyes, and lustily insulting the fans who helped turn him into one of the first icons of television's golden age. Those were the days of wrestling, board games, pulp posters, and cereal prizes, and Wagner was on all of them. But by the late 50s, the networks had overexposed big-time wrestling and started dropping it from their lineups. The novelty of television wrestling faded, as did George. Shortly before he retired in 1962, the alcohol-ravaged showman opened Gorgeous George's Ringside Bar in Van Nuys, California, only to sell it off to pay for his hospitalization for liver damage a year later. He died after suffering a heart attack on Christmas Eve in 1963, hours after bumming drinks from the very bartender he'd hired. He was 48 years old. The wrestlers he'd once worked with passed around a hat to help bury him in an orchid-colored casket, beside which his last girlfriend, a stripper, collapsed crying. Like, holy shit. So good. I mean, they could make a million movies like The Wrestler. I feel like now that I've read this, I'm thinking The Wrestler didn't even, you know, it did a really good job, obviously, but like there's more. Like they need an HBO series for everything, basically, which is, I say HBO series because I feel like they invented that shit. I don't want to say Netflix series. Yeah. But either way, it just feels so damn good. And this was just a random book I seen. I don't even know. Maybe my girlfriend picked it out. And just, I don't know, but like that's the beauty. I tried to look up like 8 books. They only had one of them, but it's just the walking around the library and just picking out things. Like you don't even have to get some of the books. I like just going to like the biography section and just like, even just read the flaps of a bunch of them. Shit, you're going to gain a lot of information of people who you know, but you don't know a damn thing about. At least you figure out like the basic, okay, that's what he was up to. Or okay, that's what she was up to. I even looked on my Kindle. I had like a bunch of biographies about women. I think the one she like started the Washington Post or something. I don't even remember half of it. And it's just like, you know what I mean? That's a shame that you read. It's just, that's why you just got to keep going. I feel I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'm going to pull every goddamn thread. There's got to be another, I keep saying I pull the thread. There's got to be another thing for that. I sample all of the delights at the buffet. I don't know. There's got to be another like metaphor for just like finding something and then just following it and see where it leads you. And it's just always fun. It's fun as hell. And on top of the books we also got Luigi's Mansion 3 for the Switch. So we go to the library, we get some books. I got 3 books on the brain, 1 on wrestling, and I got Luigi's Mansion. So that's fun. But anyway, that's enough of this shit for today. I was going to talk about my pops a little because he was doing some shit that was cracking me up earlier. I'll save it for next time. Happy Chinese New Year. That's enough of this shit for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.
Rock and roll, baby.
I gotta get a Sambo.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, man, come on. Yeah.
Everyone thinks not doing shit's easy, but it's not. It's fucking
I'm
night.
gonna get weird, go paint some stuff.
That's enough of this bullshit for one day.
Sometimes you just gotta slam them fuckers.
Oh, sure.